So I've got a nice couple of quotes here from the great psychologist Carl Gustav Jung, Craig. One of them is, the best revenge is to be like, or rather, unlike him who performed the injury. And another great quote of Carl Jung is, at his best, man is the noblest of all animatic separation from the law, and justice he is the worst. And Craig, Craig, what are you doing?
Meditating.
Meditating's not supposed to be painful.
It's not.
Oh, for fuck's sake. And welcome everybody once again to a Safe Place podcast, and this week we're going to talk about something that none of you idiots at home ever give a shit about because you're too busy watching EastEnders, ain't ya? Or Kim Kardashian, or reading the news on who the latest BBC presenter is who's going to rough up a little kid and take all the pictures, dirty little pictures for himself. Yes, guys, guess what we're going to talk about? The near-death experience, Craig.
Ooh.
What do you mean, boo, you bastard? The near-death experience. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about what mental health is right now. And we've spoke about mental health on this podcast thousands upon times. And you know what I've realised in my life?
You don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Shut up. When there's no meaning and there's no purpose and life seems volatile and empty, my body reflects that emotional state. I literally start to suffer with more tiredness, more fatigue, feeling down, feeling depressed. However, when I'm delivered the light of hope, that there is a meaning and purpose behind the fabric of the universe, that there's something at the end of it all that's worth all of this pain and struggle that we go through in life, my body's energized with a light and energy that fills me with energy.
So the purpose is the life, the purpose is the meaning is the reason.
I don't know what you're talking about right now. You've gone too far, but let me explain what I mean by this near-death experiences. Thousands upon thousands of testimonies from people all around the world. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese, Russian, American, English, Australian, or from the deep jungle of the Amazon. When people have been classed as clinically dead, i.e. their heart has stopped, around 20% proportionately, and this is scientific data recorded from all the people that have been classed as clinically dead, have said they've had an experience that science says they shouldn't, that their brain has been shown to be technically dead. There's been no algorithms that these scans have picked up that the brain should be functioning, yet they have an experience. And when all of those anecdotal testimonies come together, a great scientist, Raymond Moody, PhD genius from the United States of America, who first coined the term near-death experience, put all those stories together and articulate the fact that there's some state of consciousness that exists outside of the individual once they have died. What do you think about that?
So, being the devil's advocate as I will to play the role, it seems like that all throughout your life, you want to survive.
Yes.
You want to be comfortable. And even when you are close to death and you have the 50-50 chance of actually coming back, even your unconscious mind that shouldn't be performing any algorithms of anything, any story should be projected into reality, you come back to life with a dream, with a story, don't you?
Well, these people describe that thing that you've just labelled as a dream as ultra HD high definition reality. That the life they had before they died seems almost like a vague, it wasn't real, that it was almost illusionary, dreamlike, but the reality that they experienced once they were classed as clinically dead was super real, high definition. And the incredible thing is, as we've talked about before in the past, that the incredible thing about the human beings, it's its ability to transcend its suffering. It has to find a way to not suffer, i.e. that's why we incorporate meaning, hope, purpose as all a contradictory antidote to this meaninglessness and suffering of life. We need it. So in a traumatic event such as death, one could articulate or hypothesize rather, that at the moment of death, the most traumatic thing a person can go through may be the beautiful imagination opens itself up, flourishes like a flower opening itself up to the early morning sunshine after a night of pure darkness and aloneness. And in that fabric of imagination, it creates a place of infinite peace, infinite love, infinite bliss.
Now, there's obviously, what you're saying is there's an element of memory to come back and repeat the story, but under the, what you would say, the neurology, there's nothing going on, is there? So it seems like it even transcends what we know about our own biology and chemistry, doesn't it? Well, when you come back, and I know about this through my 100 hours of research that I've done on this subject, and also you rabbiting on about it over and over again,
Right.
that you have this experience when at times of abuse, and you can have this sort of higher rising of this body that is an option to die or an option to go back. And sometimes there's a person there, or a light or a sound or a speaker that tells you to go home, to go back, almost like it's another reality altogether. It's a parallel universe.
What are you talking about? Well, a parallel universe, right? Are you saying that there's a universe, or there's a state of consciousness that exists outside of the human mind that when we die we can all become a part of again?
Well, when you go down the near-death experience and you try and explain it, and this is what we're trying to do, we're trying to make sense of reality. Isn't it funny that every story of the human mankind in general is trying to say, what the fuck is this reality? And even
or rather, we've experienced the ultimate reality through the near-death experience. Remember, what's fascinating about this near-death experience is that between the thousands of testimonies that have been recorded, there's a commonality that seems to be a thread that links up all those stories together. The commonality is at the point of death, the person leaves their body and they begin to observe their body like a spectator. And then what happens is they then experience a sense of love and bliss, and then what they describe as something that looks like a tunnel, a pinpoint of light that they seem completely drawn to. And as they go towards this light, they seem to feel a sense of oneness with the whole of the universe. And incredibly, in that state, they describe every question that they've ever needed to ask of the unknown is instantly revealed to them. That there's a state of consciousness that that we have within ourselves that our normal egoic minds are completely separated from to a degree. But when that physical aspect of the body dies, this infinite, all-knowing, eternal existence that has never been born and never died, that knows everything upon everything, and almost like the stories of God, what is he? Omnipotent, omnipresent, all-knowing. They become part of that source again. Now, incredibly also speaking, that these people, when they've left these bodies, a lot of them get visited by what they describe as a being of light. And this being of light opens up a panorama of their life experience. But what's incredible about it is as they experience their life experience, they're experiencing it from everybody else's relationship with them when they was alive. So all the conversations they've had with family members where they might have said something that hurt them or physically hurt them, they experience the pain of how that other person felt in their interaction with them.
Now, let's try and break this down, because that's a lot of information for somebody who has not heard of near-death experience or have seen it as some sort of pseudo-science.
Well, why the fuck aren't you interested in it? Because you know what? Your body's dying right now, motherfuckers. It's dying now. And you've got to wake the fuck up, because something fucking crazy is going on that we call boring reality.
And we're trying to break this down for you guys, because what you normally do is project into all these different things and you're trying to understand reality. Now, we've tried to say through psychology that you can observe your own thoughts. You're saying that there's a place where you're no longer thinking and you become an observer. It's almost like a third story of the usual
Well,
psychological...
even more incredibly, it's not only you become an observer of the person that you consider yourself to be as you witness yourself dead, but the experience, the subjective experience is beyond words. That what's also a thread that comes through all of these anecdotal testimonies is the people that said that everything that I experienced was love, that the purpose beyond the universe was to experience love and to find more and more better ways at improving the self, to improve the existence of love within this reality.
And isn't that funny? Now, I'm a big critic of love, aren't I? Isn't it funny that the unconscious mind, or the even more unconscious mind, the dead soul that you become for a split second or a matter of minutes, still projects a story of love and bliss. So when you go back, you are grateful for life. What is one of the things that we have learnt through psychology? That gratitude for existence itself, not the good and the bad and the shit that happens, but just for existence itself, is worth it.
And unfortunately, most people have to die to tap into that consciousness that exists within them of how to feel gratitude.
Now, you've told me the stories of the near-death experience when they come back and they almost no longer fear death because they see that there's another parallel universe, alternate reality, where death isn't the death that we think of.
No, it isn't. And what's incredible is that when this person dies, no matter what state they was in at the time, it's almost like they describe that when they go in towards that light, that sense of oneness and pure love and bliss, all of the baggage and the worries and the fears and the desires, the unmet needs and the unmet desires become completely irrelevant. And when they come back, incredibly, and this is another scientific fact that's been recorded, and you can look this up in many testimonies, is that they come back and their ability to heal is super fast. What happens is somebody, for instance, there's a neurosurgeon in the United States who was an atheist, a complete atheist. He went and had a near-death experience. He come back and he was suffering with a really rare type of meningococcal septicemia, meningitis, which completely inflamed and ate away the cortex of his brain. And apparently 90% of all people that are hospitalised with this rare type of meningococcal septicemia, a rare form of bacterial meningitis, die. But the 10% that do come back were that ill that they're literally drinking their dinners for the rest of their life. Yet he comes back from the near-death experience and is completely healed within weeks. That they've found that these people that seem to have these near-death experiences is that their ability to heal is much further increased than somebody who hasn't had the near-death experience.
Now, trying to explain what this could be, because it is just labelled pseudoscience, it is just labelled poppycock. Unless you're into it, unless you've experienced it, you're not going to believe it, you're not going to accept it as a story or a narrative, you're not going to even be interested in it.
No.
However, what you realise is, for so many people to have this experience, there's got to be some truth behind it. It can't just be a made-up story. You know, I've said to you before about...
It's imagine like a great way of describing that is imagine that you've never had a dream, but everybody around you says, I dream when I go to sleep. There'd be a little part of you that would be like, I don't know if I fully believe it because I've never experienced it yet. It doesn't take away the fact that those people are dreaming.
Yeah. And now if you're watching that and you're thinking, well, that's completely wrong because I've experienced everything everybody else experiences, think of all the times when you have reacted badly and not realised that's happened from a thought. Something as simple and basic as that a trigger has occurred in your life and you're having a breakdown, yet you're blaming something else for it.
What's also incredible is that these people also, there's been blind people that have had near-death experiences, blind since birth, and they all talk about the light, the beings of light, the tunnel, the observing their body, and this person's never been able to see. Yet they're saying that they've shared a visual aspect of a subjective experience that they've had through their body being classed as clinically dead. So it shows that there must be a state of existence or consciousness that exists outside of right now your mental ability to even tap into it.
Yeah, outside of senses, outside of matter, outside of what we understand physics to be.
But you just want to go back to fucking Coronation Street, don't you? Do you know what? It drives me fucking nuts, this world does. That there's so much mystery to existence, but you want to watch Gail Platt? Gail Platt find out her next husband's a fucking serial killer. That's what you really get off on, innit?
Well, the truth is, you don't want help, and we're trying to help you. How does this help?
We're not helping them. We're getting them angry. I care about Gail Platt. She's been in this soap for 30 years, and I've got an attachment to Gail. And I hope she finds out her next husband's another killer. That's what we're competing with here. We're competing with people that have got brain cells that are just... fucking, it makes me sad.
Now, how would this near-death experience actually help anybody? Well, what you realise is you don't have to give a fuck about Coronation Street, and at the worst case scenario, you don't have to give a fuck about too much of your own life and existence. It's not that important.
You do. No, do you know what it is? I think this is what's fundamental. These people have experienced a state of love that is so powerful that when they come back, they realise how empty their lives are without it. And that gives them meaning and purpose to bring as much love back into this dimension of consciousness as possible. The only real meaning and purpose in this life for me right now is to find better ways of loving people better. And that's given them more acceptance. So what I said about Gail Platt's fans, them wankers at home that I'm getting pissed off with, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'm not bringing enough love into the world. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with Gail Platt right now. I made a big mistake. Gail's lovely. She's a character that symbolises a lot of people's issues in the world. How many women out there found out their husbands are killers? Not a lot globally, but in terms of it happening, it's happened. It happens a lot. And it's them people that I just want to send a message out to right now that I love you. I love you a lot. And... So what?
Now you've come up to a good chapter of the podcast.
I don't think my microphone's been working that good tonight. I don't know what it is. I'm coming out and in. Has it picked me up a lot of the time?
You sound crystal clear, buddy.
I don't know when we edit this back. I don't know why I care, because even if it didn't pick me up, the fact that I'm sitting here right now with a little bubbly consciousness that's been labelled or given the name Craig Powell, and he's wearing a lovely designer shirt to try and make himself look fucking clever. It just makes me fall in love with life even more.
And this is the next chapter of the podcast. Do we project meaning and purpose to feel better? Is Andrew sitting there trying to love the world because he's tried every other option and route?
Well, I would say this is that meaning and purpose, I didn't realise how important it was until I never had it. Right, I didn't even know when I had meaning and purpose that the very thing that was driving me was the fact that I had meaning and purpose, right? Until I lost the meaning and purpose, and it was like, oh my God, I've lost meaning and purpose. Now, the most important thing is that one thing I can guarantee to you, when you're on your deathbed, you're going to be looking back at your life and you're going to think, why didn't I say I told Mum I loved her more? Why didn't I say to Dad, I loved you more, I wanted you in my life more? I didn't want you to make me feel rejected or unloved. It really broke my heart. How much when you're on your deathbed do you look back and you just think, I wasted my time trying to save up money for the best cars. I wasted my time trying to save up to purchase this or have that holiday. What I really needed to do was give everybody my heart.
Oh my God.
That's what I wanted to give people.
You're starting to sound religious now.
Right, and guess what? That's what the meaning of this life is. I really believe it. Through thousands of years of evolution, of surviving, of crawling through the muck to put a shelter over your head and kill an animal just so you can survive through the night. Take away all of that survival. The most beautiful and important thing about your life and this consciousness and this heart that you have is to feel loved, accepted, wanted, and to give others love, acceptance, and for them to feel wanted. That is now the meaning and the purpose of my fucking life.
Oh, this is Andrew. He loves everybody. Oh, but I hate you, Andrew. Doesn't matter because I'm just going to love you.
Apart from Gail Platt. So that's now the meaning of my life. Just because the meaning of my life now is superior to yours doesn't mean you have to get uncomfortable with that, envious, and then that's projected out as some sort of derogatory hatred towards me.
You love everybody.
No, you don't. You just said that now to make yourself look like you're all right. You're a lying bastard. You are a lying bastard. I love people more than you love people, mate. Do you see how the ego can twist love into being a horrible thing?
It is a horrible thing because you're only doing it to make yourself feel good.
I'm not doing it to make myself feel good.
You just said that's what the whole meaning of life is.
No, you're not listening to me. It makes you feel good. But I'm not doing it to make me feel good, because when I have felt loved, that's when I feel at my best, which means it was an unconscious choice to do it to feel good. It was the very existence of what permeates every cell in my body and electrifies it into existence. That's what feeds my soul. It's love, motherfucker. Love. Take your fucking glasses off and look at me square in the fucking eye right now. So I can love ya.
I'm scared to take the glasses off, ladies and gentlemen. So the meaning of near-death experiences is to somehow have an experience of reality that makes you learn about love.
I think so, yeah.
What about if love didn't exist? What about if that is the story that you believe in?
Well, then let's talk next time on the next podcast, because fundamentally one thing that's important, regardless of your opinion in the matter, is that everybody that's had this near-death experience says the only thing that is fundamental to this reality and existence and eternity as a whole and infinity is love. However, you pose a question right at the end of the podcast that says, what if it isn't love? I would say that's the stupidest question one could ever ask. However, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. So, on the next podcast, we'll go into Craig's dark, seedy, vile world of what if it isn't love?
Eddie.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.